Hey guys, so this is my room. I have probably about 50 different kinds of plants spread out throughout my apartment in Philly. So this is the East Coast. My room has a south-facing window and an east-facing window and an AC unit. So that's kind of what I'm working with in terms of my arrangement. And I'm going to show you guys how I organize them. So first up, we have the Philodendron Salome, which apparently is now a thematophyllum. I'll put the names in the bottom. So when I first got him, he was actually struggling a lot. Here's an original leaf. He had mealybugs and thrips, and I just didn't realize it when I got him. So it took a lot of repair. But he just put out this little pretty leaf, and we have some new growth points over here. So I think we finally are on the road to success. So then over here I have my humidity loving plants right next to my humidifier to combat the AC unit. Here I have the calathea musaica. It's probably the easiest calathea that I've ever had. I had an ornata and it died a really ugly slow death, so it kind of got me off the calathea train. But this one is beautiful and it doesn't really get the crispy tips. I had it for a couple months and it went through a space heater phase and now the AC unit, and it's fine. But I do water it with distilled water. Here I have my begonia. I'm not really into begonias, but this one was kind of cool at Trader Joe's. And then here I have my alocasia poly. This is kind of like a test alocasia for me to see if I can get some of the more expensive exotic ones, and so far I think it's going pretty well. I don't really have any crispy tips. I have like little tiny ones, but it doesn't bother me too much. Like the small ones had a little bit of a hit when I first got it, but this is a new leaf. And then here's my Philodendron micans. When I first got it, he was kind of raveled up in a hanging pot, and then I took it apart and put it on this moss pole that I made, and it's kind of really liking it. I have like bigger leaves up top, which is fun. And then up here I have a little snake plant doing his thing. I have ZZ cuttings, which I know are going to take a while to root. I let it callus over for a couple hours before putting it in there. I have a baby Philodendron micans. Another snake plant that needs repotting that I got from a friend. And I got it as a little tiny baby, so it's doing really, really well in this window. My oxalis triangularis. This is doing really well. It was getting really leggy, so I kind of cut it all back, put it in a dark closet for 2 weeks, and then, you know, now it's kind of making its comeback in this window. Here is my Palea peperomoides or whatever. I kind of struggled with this plant for a while. I got it with 3 leaves at first, but it started curling a lot, and I realized that if I just keep it in the shade, it'll get like the flatter leaves that everybody wants. And then I wiped it too hard with a rag, so. And over here I have my golden pothos. Doing pretty well. It gives me mushrooms, which is interesting. That's never happened to me before. Kind of cool. Hoya pubicalix. Chillin'. Peperomia frost. Nothing good. I got this as a pretty large plant, and then I divided it into 2 plants. Hoya carnosa compacta. I kind of struggled with this plant at first because of the webbing that I had up here, which, you know, typically needs spider mites, but I've been spraying it with neem oil here and there, and I water it only when it's dry. I put orchid bark in the soil and it's doing pretty good now. I have like new leaves and stuff. And up here, I have my holiday cactus, which I think this one is the Christmas cactus, but I guess I'll find out when it blooms again. I kind of forgot. So those are my little hanging plants. South-facing window. Typically, the plants in this section are ones that are more sun-loving, as opposed to here, more like medium light tolerating plants, but who love humidity. So here we have my giant monstera. It's not giant, but compared to my other plants, I'm doing really well. These two shoots are completely new. This one is new, and then this one is new, just started coming up this spring, and it's already pretty large, and I have a bunch of new aerial roots coming out, so I think he's really happy. I repotted him, I give him a lot of fertilizer, and he's doing really well. Here's my haworthia. I think they're kind of underrated, to be honest. Haworthia baby. They kind of like just grow out of the side, and then you can kind of like pick them off and pot them up. I have another baby here in this like cute little mug pot. Here I have like a bunch of different kinds of plants, but I just threw them all in a bowl because I find succulents kind of take over too many pots and then just get leggy, and it's constantly changing. So I just have a bowl now where I throw all my succulents in there. This is actually a hoya, but the odds of it rooting within the next couple years is really small. So, you know, just throw it in there because it's cute. And then here I have like fairy castle cactus or something. It probably gets a little bit too much water in this bowl, but it's kind of doing fine. And then I have a bunch of little like leaf propagations sprinkled out. My string of pearls. It was kind of losing a lot of its balls hanging, so I put it on the table so that it can like hang over the side, but still get top down light. Here's my Philodendron Brazil from IKEA. It was doing kind of bad because it was over there before, but now it gets good indirect bright light. Here's my string of hearts. It was really small when I got it, and now it's getting really big. I'm really proud of it. Ooh. This one's kind of cool. It's a peperomia pink lady. You can see the variegation here. I'm putting it in this southern facing window because I want the variegation to get a little stronger and maybe have more of that pink come through. So I want more leaves to look like that and less leaves to look like that. And then I have my little ZZ plant, which is getting more light than, you know, a lot of ZZ plants get, because we kind of just throw them in the corner, but it's doing here. It's kind of doing a bad job at hiding my wires, and it's thriving pretty well. Like, I have a bunch of new stems here, really glossy. So up here, we actually have the second plant that I've ever got. Started my plant journey, had no idea what I was doing, didn't even know it was a fern, clearly. So it didn't get humidity, didn't get enough water, and then I kind of like looked into it, and now I have like newer leaves coming up, and I've started to kind of cut off the lower ugly leaves. This used to have a lot more leaves because it is a pretty mature plant, and like the roots are slowly starting to come out of the bottom. So we'll see. We're on the road to recovery. I didn't know where to put this, so it's up here. I'll probably find a better place for it at some point, but there it is. Here's my Dracaena marginata. It's kind of small right now, so it's in a hanging basket, but eventually it'll have to leave. Here's my massive peace lily. Really cute leaves. I have to kind of wash it, but it's a pain because it's so large. Pretty cute. These are like my baby tears, or glauca. And basically it was starting to hang over, but it was originally in a 2-inch pot, and I wanted to fill this out more, so I kind of wrapped the trailing parts around, and you'll see like these little sections right here. They'll pop out roots and they'll find their way into the soil, and then it'll start to trail. So I think that's a good little tip if you want like a fuller plant from a 2-inch plant. Here's my snake plant. I think it's like sansevieria robusta or something. Dracaena. This is actually not bamboo. People just call it bamboo because it looks like it, but whatever. Here's my syngonium, pink allusion. The allusion series kind of confuses me. I can't really keep up with the names, but it's pink. I got it from Home Depot as like a 4-inch pot. And then here's my moss ball. It's actually algae. Like, it's cold water. I switch it out once in a while. I think you're supposed to do something with salt, but I don't do it. So these plants here can tolerate a little bit of lower light. The pink is losing some of its like bright pink because of the lower light, but kind of okay with it. So I grabbed all the plants from our living room and put them in here because there just is no light in that room. All of these plants are growing under grow lights, and I have a shelving unit, and the space between each shelf is about 2 feet. So they're not right up against the grow lights unless it's one of the taller plants like the syngoniums, but they do get a fair share of light. And all of these are kind of tolerant of low light anyway. So up first we have the second half of my peperomia frost. This is like an easier way to give a good close-up of that pretty little shine. That's kind of why the plant is popular. Here we have another syngonium allusion. I think this one is berry, and I got it from Home Depot. It came in the same pot as this syngonium, which I think is berry allusion. Kind of hard to tell. It lost a little bit of its little pink accents, but in the newer growth, now that it's under a grow light, it is being a little bit more pink and glossy. And then here's like the dark green speckled in. So anyway, they were in the same pot, and then I separated them out and I attached them to chopsticks with this like little garbage bag tie. It's pretty light, it's just paper and then a very thin wire, and it's thinly twisted, and they're doing really well. They might even have to be repotted soon. So those are the two syngoniums. Here we have my first ever like foliage plant. Most of my first plants were succulents and cacti, as with a lot of people, but this is the first plant I ever got with foliage. And it's kind of ugly. It is a Dieffenbachia, and basically, I don't even know where to start. Basically, it was just like sitting in way too much water. It was in too big of a pot at first. I didn't know too much about plants, which is fine. Everybody has to kind of like have their learning experience. I am lucky to still have this plant, but it dropped a lot of leaves in the process, and now it's obviously very leggy. It was in really low light, so it lost a lot of the white within the leaves. So if you don't know, to keep this color, you need light. It was starting to put out new growth, but again, there's like no white in here. And then just to top it all off, I had a record fall off of a top shelf and completely just like slice these three. completely off the plant. So this is gonna need some attention, but I am a little bit emotionally attached to it because it is my first plant and it did teach me a lot. So we'll see. Here we have a Hoya carnosa crimson queen, I think, because the white is on the outside, the crimson princess, which I also have, and we'll show you the white is on the inside. I love this planter. Doing pretty well. I have a lot of slow growth. I'm not a huge Hoya head. Oh my god. Okay. Maybe I take that back. It's like the only new growth that I've had since I got this, like last summer, besides this one leaf. I guess it's the grow lights. And then also I have like an orchid fertilizer spray, and I spray the compacta, this little guy, and then the crimson princess. And I've noticed that it's helped a lot with the growth. So that's a little hack for you for fertilizing your Hoyas. Here I have a Scindapsus pictus. It was thriving, but it dropped so many times that now it's leggy. I chopped it way back. I have a broken, this guy is just hanging on by a thread. So my plan is kind of to just buy a new 4-inch Scindapsus pictus and put these in there and just see what happens and make it look a little fuller, because I really do like this plant. But and it was doing really well, but then it kind of fell apart once I dropped it like 20 times. So these are all of the plants that are growing under grow lights right now, with the exception of this one, because it is falling apart, so it just didn't get prime real estate. But I do have the intentions to get this one and that one in good spots and kind of pick back up. And then last but not least from this section is this beautiful Hoya carnosa crimson princess. I got this for like $5 from Home Depot because they couldn't find it when they were scanning it, and so they just gave it to me at a discount. And it's really beautiful. It has the pink in the new growth, which is why it's also called the Hoya carnosa tricolor, I think. And this one is actually not where these plants are. It's in our like main hallway, hung under the skylight, so it does get a lot of top-down light, which is good. Yeah. So these are like a little bit of the miscellaneously placed plants. I do have one more section that I'm going to bring up here, and then that'll be all of my plants. Okay, so here is my last batch of plants. These live in our kitchen, so it does get humidity from our cooking, and there's also no AC unit there, but of course it isn't as controlled as a room where we do have a humidifier and can set, you know, the humidity levels. So these sit on a table in a south-facing window. It is quite shaded by a building, but it is a decent amount of light. First up, we have the syngonium holly. This one's a bit bushy. I really like it. I got it for a couple bucks at Home Depot. It's fairly healthy. It has a little droppage down there, but I really like this plant a lot. Also a newer plant for me is this coffee plant. I know that because eventually it can grow into a small tree, it does like, you know, bright indirect light. So I'm kind of monitoring it in the shaded window downstairs, and if I need to bring it up here, I will. However, because the leaves are kind of thin, I am worried about, you know, giving it a little bit of sun damage, so we'll see. I'll keep a little eye on it, but I really do like this plant. I think it's beautiful. Next up, we have the Aglaonema wishes, I believe. Obviously, I love this plant because of the pink and the dark green. I believe Aglaonema can tolerate lower light most of the time, but because of the pink, I do like to keep it in a little bit of brighter light to keep that up. Here's like a newer leaf example and another one, and then these new leaves are producing even more leaves. You can see them right here. So that's exciting. Next we have this little cactus. This is actually, I believe, my oldest plant. I've had this cactus for years. It's getting a little topsy-turvy, hence the chopstick. It kind of bounces off the spikes a little bit and keeps it upright. I don't know what kind of cactus it is, but I've had it for a very, very long time. I hope it's not gonna break here, but who knows. I've been spiked by it many times. So that's my little cactus. Next up, this doesn't look like much, but it's actually an Albuca spiralis. I think is how you say it, or the common name is frizzle sizzle. So it's the curly plant, and it's this bulb plant, and it shoots out these like long, spindly, curly, I don't know what they're called. They're not really leaves, but they do that. It actually grows in the winter time, so right now a lot of its foliage was dying off, and I'm just letting it be dormant. I'm keeping it in the window, but I don't water it or anything like that really, and I'll resume doing all that good stuff in the winter. And so my last plant is this rubber plant, Ficus elastica, burgundy. I'm really excited about it. My friend who got me my 2 spider plants actually got it for me. It's a propagation, a very large propagation. And it's doing really well. It just popped out this shiny leaf. You can tell it's because it's so shiny. There's a little baby coming. I do keep it in the shaded south window because I want it to keep that dark burgundy color and not get lighter. But I do believe if you keep it in a little bit of a shadier place, the leaves will actually get bigger to try and soak up more light. So it's up to you what you want to do. Yeah, so it's my little collection. It's nothing too crazy. I don't have any super fancy plants really. I'll get there, but I think I have a really good foundation.